So here we go. Now we got an active shooter in Midtown Manhattan. Crazy. A weirdo with a gun went in there, and from my understanding, 3 are dead or 3 are shot, even a cop. Let's take a look at Jesse Waters' primetime reporting on this. Because out of this, what do you think is going to happen next? Right? We're going to hear the Democrats about banning guns, getting rid of guns, and it's going to go back up to arguments. But welcome to my channel. My name is Noel. Here trying to give you guys the news. Give this video a thumbs up so we could get more viewers. Now let's take a look at what's happening Midtown. Let's go. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully you're having a good day. All right. Midtown is crazy.
Alert, we're monitoring an active shooter situation in Midtown Manhattan after a gunman went inside of a 44-story office building and opened fire around 6:30 p.m. local time. We're told the rounds first went off in the lobby before the shooter got up to at least one other floor. At least 6 were reportedly shot, and sources tell Fox that includes 2 officers, 1 reportedly dead. Sources also say the gunman shot himself on the 33rd floor. Currently, officers are sweeping the building to see if there's a second shooter. Fox correspondent Alexis McAdams is on the scene. Alexis.
Hey, Jesse. So we're trying to figure out everything we can because these NYPD officers, many who weren't even on duty, got called to this. And as you said, they have to go through now floor by floor in this very big building in Midtown Manhattan and try to figure out how many people are injured. So it's still an active scene.
And also, when something like this happens in New York City, and let's say it's the end of your shift as a police officer, they don't allow you to go home. You got to go back to work and go out there because the city got no one else to call. So you have to put in the time when a big emergency happens. And if you take a look, there's a lot of cops there. We have an active shooter. It could be more than one. So they send in the troops. Everybody gets down there. And it makes sense. You know, we got to stop these maniacs who do things like this. Crazy, crazy story. Check it out.
They did say that the gunman took his own life after he got up somehow onto the 33rd floor.
Wow.
He turned that rifle on himself, but not sure.
So that's like a suicide by cop. Sounds like a weirdo that went in there looking to get killed by the police officers after committing such a heinous crime. Man, some people need a psychologist, but that's crazy.
They're going to make it. So there's still a developing scene. That's why they haven't been briefed yet, because this is also active. But people, you got to remember, people moved to New York City for these big jobs and these big skyscrapers, and their parents are watching from home right now, you know, hoping that their kids and their families and all the people who work in those buildings are okay. So the NYPD is going to do everything they can to get the situation under control and relay that information because people want it and they want it now.
All right, so this looks very targeted. He goes in very well prepared, vest, takes out security immediately and goes right up to a certain floor. We're seeing, I guess it's a photo that may have been released of the gunman. Have you seen the photo? And can you describe what he looks like and the type of rifle?
So I've seen a bunch of different photos that are floating around. The NYPD said that the man is from out of state is all that they would say right now. And was heavily armed, but that's all that they would say. So sometimes it seems like, as we know from covering all this breaking news, like the social media figures it out quicker than the cops can at the scene because they're trying to basically make sure everybody's okay. So they won't say too much about who the gunman is or describe him or anything like that. But they said that he took himself out, turned that gun on himself inside, but he went first to the lobby, shoots, you know, at least 2 people, including that police officer who died. Then he moves up, stops at least 2 other floors and opens fire. So, you know, I don't know which floors he stopped on. We don't know what businesses were up there, but it brings questions of security for people who work in Midtown.
Yeah, that's worst case scenario. And where was the security, right? You just can't let people into buildings. And that's weird. Typically, buildings in New York City, downtown, got top-notch security doors. Just like they press a button and nobody can get through those doors. Something like that, right? And bulletproof mirrors and things like that. After this incident, everybody better step up their security because they got to get all the way up is crazy.
Too, and work in that building. Like, how did this guy get in? If it was targeted, did he know the layout? Did he have a key card? Who is he? So hopefully they'll be able to lay that out. They've got the NYPD out there who's going to do a briefing, but a lot of the NYPD also went to a nearby hospital where this poor officer died. They said he was just trying to get in extra hours, make some extra money, and work security at this building.
Yeah, we're looking at some of the tenants in this building, Alexis. You have everything, as you mentioned, Blackstone, financial services, a bunch of banks, Deutsche Bank, Enterprise Ireland, and some accounting firms. Obviously, the NFL is the most recognizable company in this building. We don't know, obviously, the motivation of the gunman, but obviously he knew what he was going in there to do. There's no doubt about it. And it was a suicide mission. We're sure that he's committed suicide. And right now you're calling it an active scene. By active, what do you mean by that?
They're saying active as they basically have to sweep the whole building.
Yeah, they double and triple check, making sure there's only one gunman, because they cannot allow a second one or third to go through that section. Man, this is horrible. Worst case scenario.
Figure out, is there a second shooter? Like, they don't know, who was all involved. They went back and looked through the security cam video, and they said they just see the one gunman who goes up and shoots himself on that 33rd floor, but they want to see, was anybody else involved? And then active, meaning that it's still active, that they're trying to get these injured people out and just survey the entire scene. So when it's such a big building like that, you think about going into an active shooting, let alone a skyscraper, 44, stories up, they got to go through each floor and look at all that video and talk to everybody they can. So that's how they say it's active. In terms of knowing what he was doing, that's exactly what the NYPD sources tell me. They say that witnesses said it sounded like a barrage, like an automatic weapon. And then once he got up onto that 33rd floor, he's wearing this bulletproof vest, but he blocked himself in there. And that's when investigators say he shot himself. And in these buildings, there's so many cameras and security cameras everywhere. So everything was captured. So they're going to have a lot of evidence to review.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much, Alexis. Let's go over to Stuart Kaplan, former FBI agent, and believe he's close to the scene. Stuart, what are you hearing?
And by the way, I think it got to be somebody who maybe worked there who has a security card in order to get in the building and go all the way to the 33rd floor. Like, there's no way a stranger that don't have access could get into one of those top buildings in New York City. So now all the evidence is going to come out.
This seems to be a targeted attack, Jesse, focused on a particular office. It seems like this individual had some animus that may be more aligned, instead of terrorism, more aligned with a workplace type of violence situation. And of course, the problem with neutralizing this threat is when someone has an automatic weapon. Obviously, it makes it very difficult for local uniformed police officers that are armed at the time with just pistols. While though the New York City Police Department is probably best across the country with respect to having specialized units, suppression units.
And you know what's crazy? The guy was walking down the street with the rifle in his hand. So like a cop with a gun, even with a regular gun, as soon as he sees that, a man with a rifle walking on the street, just take him down. It's about to get ugly.
It's that are dispatched throughout the city in concert, working with state and local and federal partners to be able to neutralize these type of threats. And so my hat's off. While too many victims, even one is too many, thankfully, this came to a conclusion as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's amazing that there's just one fatality, as sad as that is. But if you have an automatic weapon and a bulletproof vest and a environment in a skyscraper with the kind of close proximity to these people, it's just, wow, it could have been a lot worse. So we just had a targeted assassination against the United Healthcare CEO. I believe it was last year in Midtown Manhattan. This kind of strikes you as a similar kind of corporate revenge plot?
Probably.
This may seem more of an internal type of scenario, maybe a former employee because it seemed that he knew exactly where he wanted to be and where to go with respect to operating or using.
And the guy seemed so calm walking down the street, like he planned this whole thing. Just keep it normal, walking with a rifle. Once you see the picture of him walking down or into the building, lets you know, man, this guy planned it all out.
Using an elevator to get up onto a particular floor, not necessarily just laying in waiting downstairs. And Jesse, I wanted to take this opportunity. This is a perfect example for your viewers to understand that have a plan in place. Don't overthink things, but when you go to work and you're in an office type of environment, milliseconds can be the difference between life and death. And this is a perfect example of trying to put a plan in place before, God forbid, something like this happens. So you do have a chance to survive this type of active shooting type of scenario.
You know, you're right, because if this guy was able to access the elevators that fast, he probably had a badge, because I think Alexis just mentioned in most of these corporate high rises here, you got to badge in either through gates or up through the elevator. They don't just let anybody stroll onto an elevator at a skyscraper with these types of corporations. The plan in place that every company needs to have. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to shelter in place or evacuate? Or, I mean, you obviously don't.
And definitely companies now got to do drills. Practice, drill, just in case drills. What to do when something like this is popping off or it's happening. Like what's a code that they could use? Email everybody or a buzzer, because this cannot continue to happen.
Want to be a hero, but there may come a time where you need to be.
So Jesse, this is what I tell everybody. You know, we are more of a visual type of, we visualize, we have to actually see for ourselves, notwithstanding we may hear what we believe is gunshots. Human nature is, if I don't see it, even though I may hear something that is certainly not within the norm, I may not react and think, quote unquote, it's an active shooting situation. I'd rather tell your viewing audience that if you hear what may be fireworks or gunshots, don't hesitate. That hesitation could be the difference between putting yourself in a position. And the best thing to do is locate and identify now a potential closet or a door or an office that has a lock on it. Try to lock yourself in a room. Try to use furniture to barricade yourself or barricade yourself in that room and put that furniture as a barrier between you and the door, and get far away as possible from that door. Don't keep yourself in what's called the death funnel with respect to someone shooting at that door. And that may be the difference. And again, go through a scenario. Where is a safe place to extricate yourself to?
And that's crazy. In the middle of you thinking about your job and how to do a better job, now you also got to coordinate and figure out how to stay alive, because things like this happens. You're going to work, you're just trying to think how to do better, how to make more money, how to get a promotion, and now thinking about your life. That's crazy.
I generally say use a buddy system, and don't worry about your personal property and grabbing your pocketbook or your briefcase. Get to that location that you have previously identified, and get to it. Activate your plan, and then hopefully for law enforcement to come to suppress and neutralize the threat. All
right, that's very good advice, Stuart Kaplan. Thanks for joining us. Let's now bring in senior correspondent Eric Shawn, who's live on the scene. What's the latest, Eric?
Yeah, right now, as we've been reporting, the gunman of New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says that the gunman has been neutralized. About an hour ago, we reported here on Fox News Channel that the gunman shot himself with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. When I arrived here about an hour ago, there were still reports that there were at least 6 victims in the stairwells near the 33rd floor.
Whoa.
Or in the 33rd floor of that building. That is not confirmed. Right now, as we've been reporting, the gunman of New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says that the gunman has been neutralized. About an hour ago, we reported here on Fox News Channel that the gunman shot himself with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. When I arrived here about an hour ago, there were still reports that there were at least 6 victims in the stairwells near the 33rd floor, in the 33rd floor of that building. That is not confirmed. We know that police officer was shot. We know at least one civilian confirmed has been shot, and this gunman, whose picture we see him just strolling casually in a very odd way into the lobby plaza of this building, died of a self-inflicted gunshot. So we have been reporting this would seem to be an internal employee situation of sort. As I talk, because the police helicopters above me, all of Midtown here, the heart of New York City's business district, has been shut down. Considering the reports that the gunman walked in, exchanged gunfire, or shot that police officer, and then was able to access and go up in an elevator, perhaps had a key card, perhaps was an employee, who then went up to the 33rd floor of 345 Park Avenue, which is a giant office building in which, as we've said, Blackstone, the huge Stephen Schwarzman head was there on the lower floor. The shooting, I've been told, basically centering around the 33rd floor. Jessica Tisch, the good news saying that the gunman has been neutralized. As you can see, no one is going anywhere.
All right, Eric, thanks. We're having a little hard time hearing you with the police helicopters above. Let's bring in former SWAT guy, Chad Ayers. Chad, I don't know if Fox has cleared the photo of the alleged gunman yet. We're working on doing that. I believe you've seen the photo. What can you tell us about who he is or who the suspect is?
Yeah, obviously, I've just seen that brief photo that's circulating across, X right now. Don't know much more after that. Jesse, I do want to point out something that you brought up, and the gentleman you had on before brought up is, one, a lot of this starts with situational awareness. We've got to do a better job in 2025 of being situationally aware of our surroundings, especially in big cities with all the threats. We've had numerous active shooter events or stabbings, mass stabbings in the last few days. And so, do not be complacent. We've got to do a good job on watching, getting off our cell phones, seeing something, say something, and being able to hopefully stop one of these before it even happens.
Yeah, I mean, it looks more and more like this guy had access to the building through a key card or some sort of official identification, because he was able to access the 33rd floor at a very high security building. That would indicate that he was an employee, former employee. Perhaps he stole the badge that gave him that access. What are some things that people should be alert for when it comes to disgruntled employees or something that they sense with their sixth sense is a hostile actor?
No, you nailed it on the head right there. There's always early warning signs. And with my company at Proactive Response Group, what we do is really drive in and dive into those early warning signs. The majority of these attacks are committed by someone who typically already has access to the facility, like you just.
It's a crazy story. Because if you think about it, you have a group of people that go to work with the idea that they're going to do great, they're going to try to impress the boss, try to make more money. And how can they make more money? That's, I think, the main thing on people's head when they go to work. How to do better, how to get more money. And now this, a crazy maniac, especially when you're working on a building that you see it as a very secure building, right? You need a key card to get in, and it's not going to happen, but then this happens. It's going to be crazy moving forward in New York City. A guy going up there, I'm pretty sure he had a badge, he probably worked there and was disgruntled. That's what it looks like. How else can he get so much access? With a gun in his hand, he walked in there. Like, what did security do at the front entrance? Did they have a gun? Did they let this happen? Because typically, even with a security card, there's usually a security guard there looking at everybody going into the building. So this is insane, man. Another crazy story in New York City. Oh, man. Just the other day, we had that killer. Was it last year? who killed one of the CEO heads. So another one. Let's see the report. I hope they don't talk about banning guns because, again, it's not the guns. It's a maniac with a gun. And that's what we got to watch out for. Disgruntled employees who map this out and plan it out and carry it through. You got to be disgruntled and weird to take out people's lives, including police officers. It's a crazy story, but let me know what you think. What can they do in New York City to stay ahead of this, right? To think of what criminals can do, or what can big buildings like this one do to get ready, right? To be aware, situational awareness. I think that's what the guy said. Oh man. In my opinion, I try to avoid getting enemies at work. But these people are bosses, the people who hire and fire, give people raises and do all these business negotiation with employees. Those are probably the ones that make people mad or disgruntled. A disgruntled employee goes get a gun and does something weird like shooting people. And then at the end of the day, as you just saw the report, he said, looks like he committed suicide. Suicide by cops. What a horrible story. But then again, it's crazy. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. My name is Noel here at Verbal on Life, trying to bring you guys the latest news. I was going to talk about something else in terms of the presidency and the tariffs and what's going on. And then this happened out of left field. A shooter just walked in normally into a financial business building in New York City, and man, all hell breaks loose. And like I told you guys earlier, when something like this happens in New York City, and let's say it's the end of your shift, they stop you from leaving. Now you got to stay because there's nobody else to call to attend to all the big problems happening, especially when there's like an episode like this. All the New York City cops went downtown and it was packed to make sure they secure all threats. All right. Shout out to P.O. Leary, who wrote out and commented, don't need your narration and interruptions. And you're the large picture. Oh, wow. And you're the large picture. It's about you and not the news. Yeah, so we're trying to build a channel here. Give this video a like. Let's try to get this out to more people. And it's more about the news. And then after the news, I try to put out comments out there. Let you guys know my thoughts and try to read comments. So comment down below. What do you think? So it's our news, not just mine. Let's all be verbal on life. I think we all have verbal freedom. And yeah, maybe I'll make the news window a little bigger. I'll have it over here. But yeah, a little bit of both. The news and my commentary at the end. And it looks like we're getting towards the end. Because we know we need to be more verbal on life. Not just keep the comments to ourselves. But yeah, shout out to you, P.O. Leary. All comments are welcome. No such thing as a bad comment. But what else do you want me to tell you? That was Jesse Waters Primetime reporting on the latest incident. I'm sure he had a whole new report done for today, but because of the shooting, here, let me put up the video. Everything stops. And this is the latest.
That a current or former employee or domestic situation. And so we're looking at
Our current employer, probably. So
someone who maybe have been terminated, a domestic situation that spilled over into the workplace.
yeah, the guy was probably terminated. And they're already talking about as a white supremacist, a fascist guy. Leslie raced out of this, and it's probably going to be all over the news. It was just a maniac, a deranged maniac taking it out on people. But you heard my commentary. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Give this video a thumbs up. Give it a like. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Wait. Should I say anything else with my big head? Should like the commentary said. Comment down below if you have anything to say. See you on the next video. Peace.